course, to us, it goes without saying, that's our modern understanding of species. But it isn't really until the 17th century that becomes clear, and then takes its modern form in Linnaeus, the Swedish biologist. Again, not exactly lowborn, but not aristocratic or wealthy of a background, but who develops what is today the basis for the system of nomenclature that we use in biology. The birth of modern classification is Systema Naturae, the system of nature, first published in 1735, and then subsequent editions. His system of plants is a little closer to the modern system than his work on animals. But he's got 24 classes, and he looks at the length of the stamens and orders and so on. He established two things. One was the system of the binomial nomenclature, where you have one name that's the genus name. Fagus, for instance, is beech, and then one name that's the species name. Fagus salvatica is the wild beech. And the idea that every species is going to have two names of this form comes from Linnaeus. He gave us the nested hierarchy of three kingdoms, and he gave people all had to learn this. People could start with kingdom. What everybody had, I'm sure when you were in school, had to learn a mnemonic for this. What was the mnemonic you people learned? Yeah. We did not do that when I was a child. Kinky people come over for good sex. Kingdom, phylum, order, family, genus, species. Yeah. We had kings play chess or forfeit good soldiers, which is much less interesting than different age. Any other? Yeah. Say it louder. Keep plates clean or family gets sick. That's more practical. I like Michael's theory. And your name is sorry. Yeah, right. Actually, the family was not in Linnaeus' system, but the other elements were of that classification. So this stands in a way for the process of the reorganization of knowledge from a system of knowledge based on what you got from the ancients to one increasingly rational and based on observation. The roots of science, and Paul spoke of this in this discussion of the roots of science. In this period, even as the number of plants that are observed is going into the thousands, so is the amount of knowledge about virtually everything. The number of books that's being published is increasing dramatically. And there is this sense of information overload. They don't call it that, but those, I say, some modern scholars do. Linnaeus gave us not only the system of biological nomenclature. I say nomenclature apparently randomly because I hear it coming out of my mouth. He gave us the index card. Linnaeus, first used the index card, which is a wonderful method for organizing lots of facts or lots of observations in ways you can reorganize and lay out in different spatial relationships and explore the patterns of structure. There's this sense that there's just too much to know. That's the title of a recent book by Ann Blair, a Harvard historian. It's got a lot of attention and deserves it, about all the ways in which people in this period tried to deal with this sense of, oh my God, there's too much to know. Now, the too much to know is, well, I'll come to that in a second. Anton Francesco Doni says there's so many books that we don't even have time to read the titles, and there were lots more books, as indicated. It wasn't a linear progression. Sometimes it's the English books, and in England, sometimes political considerations like censorship and licensing. We haven't talked about that. You didn't talk about that. We'll come to that. So it's up. Yeah, restricted the number. Still, there's thousands and thousands more books in a year, and the average size of a personal library grew accordingly. So let me say this. I can say this anywhere from here on to the modern time. Let me just mention this. This sense of information anxiety, there's too much to know, too much to do, too much to do. At any point in history, from the invention of print to last week, you can find people saying exactly the same thing. And of course, now we look back and say, 1,000 books. You thought that was a lot. Why we have that many in any bookstore? I can go online and find 50, 100, 200,000 books on any topic. What do you know about information anxiety? Nonetheless, in every age, people have the same anxiety. Here's Washington Irving. People know Washington Irving, Legend of Sleepy Hollow, over 10 weeks. It will soon be the employment of a lifetime merely to learn books' names. A man of passable information. Man of information was an expression that was popular at this time for a literate person. At the present day, reads scarcely anything but reviews, and before long, a man of erudition will be little better than a mere walking catalog. A few years later, Thomas Carlyle, books are not only printed, but in great measure written and sold by machinery. Every little religious sect has got to have its magazine, and so forth. Jacques Bach could go through others every 20 years. Jacques Barzun, mid-century literary scholar. Some things happened in the last 100 years, but writing in the 50s. Just what we think of as before the information explosion begins in earnest. Says, whether it's the records we have to keep in business, the ceaseless communication, every committee has to publish its dribblings, even an inter-office memo goes out in 16 copies. There's a huge number of activities which would seem exist only to bombard us with paper. And so on. These are from 1983. It was somebody arguing that we needed more school libraries and longer school sessions in 1983. He said, well, Mr. Reagan prospered in schools without libraries. I believe that the information explosion in more recent years has made school libraries necessary. This is the information age. It's an information explosion. Some students will need a longer period of time to master mathematics, science, economics, world history. Well, when Reagan was a boy, I mean, he really didn't need a library because there was so little to know, right, in the 1920s. And world history, when I was a kid, we learned all of world history in 4 months, right? Now it takes, because so much has happened since then. A dubious argument, but nonetheless, a common complaint in every age. Think of it this way. This is the way I put it. Relative to your current position, an exponential curve looks just as scary wherever you get on board. That is to say, oh my God, it's getting faster, it's going up faster and faster and faster and faster. And if looking backwards, you say, well, there wasn't much, then nonetheless the amount of increase it induces anxiety. And that's because it's about, as Ann Blair says in her title, the idea that there is too much to know, too much that I have to know, too much I'm responsible for knowing. So the sense of information anxiety is shaped by several things. First of all, how much do you feel you have to know? If you don't feel you have to, hundreds of thousands of books are published. I don't feel I have to know the ones like chemical engineering and so on. In my own field of linguistics, I see there's more and more books being published. But in linguistics also, we're specializing more and more, and there's a kind of increase of specializations, and courses are more and more restricted. And in a certain sense, in the sciences, the organization of the science itself accommodates that kind of exposure, because it has to in medicine, for example. Nonetheless, when there's more and more out there, particularly when the boundaries between traditional genres and ways of knowing start to vanish, as long as there are newspapers and magazines and so on, and different fixed channels that I know of information, I'm going to be less anxious. And all of a sudden, everything's on the web. Everything seems mixed up in a tohu bohu in completely random order. I don't know where to go, where to stop. Since I can know anything, I feel sometimes I have to know everything, and that's where the anxiety is engendered. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's certainly true. I mean, we don't even know what we've read already. We don't know if we're doing studies, for a long time, back before this, if you're doing research, you're, let's say, Shell Oil, and you want to do a research project on a certain new process. You don't think it's been done before. How much does it have to cost to do that study before you actually go and see if anybody's done it? Well, before it's a lot easier now. Before the web, you might have to spend 3 weeks looking to make sure nobody had done it, and then the odds that you would find it are small, right? So if it costs less than $10,000, there's some number. If it costs less than $10,000 or $5,000, just do it. Don't even look. And sometimes that's the practical. But those are real considerations. How is this dealt with in this period that we're talking about, the 17th century? Libraries are being reorganized. Now we're starting to get big libraries. Gabriel Naudet, in a certain sense, the father of library science. Ultimately, the librarian for Cardinal Mazarin. People know who Cardinal Mazarin was. He succeeded Cardinal Richelieu. He was Richelieu's boy until Richelieu died. And basically, when Louis XIV was a young child, he and Louis XIV's mother, Anne of Austria, ran France. And he was actually Italian of Neapolitan origin. He a great lover of books. He accumulated more and more books at the peak. He had something like 40,000 books in his personal collection, an astounding amount of books for anybody who had then and for anybody to have now. Established a library in Paris. It's today still there, the Bibliothèque Mazarin, Mazarin's library. It's in the Institut de France on the left bank. If you go to Paris, how many people have? Everybody here expects it. Who does not ever expect to go to Paris? That's what I thought. If you go to Paris, once you've seen the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and the Quai d'Orsay and the Musée d'Orsay and so on, so there are some of the most extraordinary libraries in the world in Paris. The Bibliothèque Nationale from the 19th century and the Mazarin Library, which is in this building that also houses the French Academy, where you can go and see this extraordinarily beautiful space. It was then sold off. The Fronde was a series of civil wars. Mazarin had to leave Paris. They sold everything off. He was enormously wealthy, as cardinals were in those days. He sent Naudet out. Naudet reassembled the collection, and it was open to the public. People could go in and use it. He published one of the early works on classification and cataloging. Now we have a collection big enough, so we have to. How do we accumulate a collection? How do we catalog? He divided, for instance, what we think of as reference books. Actually, the term reference books doesn't have its modern sense until late in the 19th century. There were reference books. The phrase emerged at the beginning of the 19th century, just books that won't circulate. And the idea that they are dictionaries, encyclopedias, atlases, and so on, so on, late 19th century idea. And he distinguishes among dictionaries and onomasticons, onomatopoeia, names, list of names, famous names. Florilegia are these collections of sentences that people write down. It was an age in which people would read and write things down in books, publish the collections of sententiae, of thoughts or adages, or one of the most famous is the Adages of Erasmus, one of the most influential books of the humanistic period. He wrote, I esteem these collections extremely profitable and necessary, considering the brevity of our life and the multitude of things which we are now obliged to know, ere one can be reckoned among the number of learned men, do not permit us to do all ourselves. There's too much to know. So what do we need? Well, we need these sources like dictionaries and florilegia and what will be encyclopedias that are going to summarize everything for us, so that they'll do the work of extracting what we have to know. And this is one approach, one purported solution to the sense of, oh my God, there's so much to know out there. A half-century later, Ephraim Chambers, whose work will be the model for both the Johnson's Dictionary and the Encyclopédie, writes that the encyclopedia that he's made will answer all the purposes of a library except parade, that is to say, showiness and incumbent size. We're going to have a small, won't be showy, but you'll basically have all you need to know in a library will be in this encyclopedia. Distillations of this sort are in this period. Excuse me. Distillations of this sort are in this period extremely important as a way of dealing with this massive increase in the amount of learning. Louis Sébastien Mercier, a French writer of the 18th century, in 1771 writes the year 2440, 440, which is some people reckon is the first science fiction novel. Great bestseller. In the novel, a time traveler, by means I can't remember what finds himself 500 or 700 whatever it is in the future and wanders around looking at all the things that have changed. He goes to the Bibliothèque du Roi, the Royal Library. 1771, he didn't realize it might not be a king 700 years, much less 20 years later. He goes to the Royal Library. This is a plan of what, it was never built, but Boulay, of what the Royal Library might look like as the number of books increases. The building of these huge libraries is a project from the 18th and 19th centuries. And he expects to find this enormous library with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of books. Instead, he finds just one little bookcase with 20 or 30 books, and it's duodecimo, it's small little hand-shaped books. It's explained that men of goodwill have extracted the substance of 1,000 volumes and passed it in its entirety into a small duodecimo, a bit like a skillful chemist who press out the essence of flowers to concentrate it in a vial while throwing the dregs away. So the idea is by then we'll have everything in one little bookcase, and we won't have to read all these other books. By this time, people are having satirical fun with the idea that you can learn everything from these compilations and what do they call the study guides that you the ones you get from the guides you buy for never mind. Swift writes, the most accomplished way of using books is the present twofold. You can either serve them as men do lords, learn their titles exactly, and then brag of their acquaintance. You learn the titles and say, well, I've read that. Or secondly, which is indeed the choicer, the profounder, and politer method, you get a thorough insight into the index. You look at the back of the book, by which the whole book is governed and turned like fishes by the tail. Thus men catch knowledge by throwing their wit on the posteriors of a book, as boys do sparrows by flinging salt upon the tail. A lovely figure. And Pope in the Dunciad makes the same observation. Nonetheless, this is what leads to the encyclopedic urge. Diderot, who in the 17th and 18th century will be the motor force, along with D'Alembert of the Encyclopédie, writes that as the centuries continue to unfold, the number of books is going to grow and grow and grow. It's going to be as hard to learn anything from books as if from the direct study of the universe. It will be almost as convenient to search, as what I was talking about earlier, to search in truth. Just go to the world because there's too many books to find it. Just go do the experiment yourself. And people came up with ingenious systems for cataloging and for doing scholarship. This is a note-taking system described by Vincent Placius, I guess, at that time, a German scholar at the end of the 17th century. This elaborate system with shelves and doors and slots for cards and so on. It's not clear now, actually, if Placius reported it or designed it himself, but there was a wealthy merchant in Hamburg who had one made. Leibniz acquired it and hung all his notes there, the philosopher, scientist, mathematician, hung all his notes in it, used it to organize a sort of prototype hypertext system, note-taking system. At the same time, knowledge is being reconceptualized. The encyclopedia, or the ancestor of the encyclopedia, like Vincent de Beauvais, as I say, divided the world into several categories according to what people felt was the natural divine order of things. The the natural order, God, angels, men, the philosophical order, philosophy, theology, and the historical order. And these were the fixed categories of experience. By the 16th century, 17th century, people are turning from God to man and putting man at the center of the order of things. Francis Bacon divided his system. Was never implemented. He never implemented in a book. He was actually thrown in prison for bribery when they were taking corruption or something. But put man at the center of this of his scheme. And his scheme, Bacon's scheme, his tree, would be the basis on which everybody after that would work, right up to the Encyclopedia and after. Putting philosophy, for example, divided into divine and natural theology, human philosophy, and then into the various branches. The idea of coming up with a universal system of classification that would be the basis for organizing knowledge and be represented in an encyclopedia is one that at this point becomes an interesting or important project for people once they break with the traditional project of the Renaissance and of the Middle Ages. John Wilkins, did you mention Wilkins? Talking about I mentioned him earlier in the writing thing. You did mention him. He was the president of the Royal Society, wasn't he? He was a fascinating character, and he decided he would invent a universal language that would be a sort of encyclopedia, in which every element of the language would have a meaning, and you would combine them, the elements of the language, so every word or every sign would explain itself. It was originally a graphical language, so that, for instance, here's his explanation. This character signifies the genus of space. You have that character, the line with a little hook on it. The acute angle on the left side denotes the first difference, which is time, space, and time. The other affix signifies the ninth species under the differences, which is everness. I guess that's the hook. The loop at the end of this affix denotes the word is to be used adverbially. So the sense of it must be the same as we expressed by the phrase forever and ever. So every phrase, every mark, every sign in this language will have its meaning. Its meaning will be implicit in the meanings of the little elements out of which it's constructed. And he also gave an alphabetic version of this. So de would be an element, de, deb would be the first of the elements, fire, deba a part of the element of flame, and so on and so forth. And he suggests, Borges, the Argentine writer, describing his language, says people would be able to learn, children would be able to learn this language without knowing it was artificial. You just learn that, deb, deba, so on and so forth. And then afterwards you have the key and you realize every word explains its own meaning. The problem with these systems, with any system, is that any system of organization risks a certain arbitrariness. How we organize things is a function of the different ways in which we can see the world. And Borges goes on to mention the example of a certain Chinese encyclopedia called the Celestial Empire of Benevolent Knowledge. In its remote pages, it is written that the animals are divided into A, animals belonging to the emperor, embalmed animals, tame animals, suckling pigs, sirens, fabulous animals, stray dogs, animals included in the present classification, frenzied animals, innumerable animals, animals drawn with a fine camel hair brush, etc., having just broken the water pitcher that from a long way off look like flies. Why not? Why is one system of classification better than another? Or if this one seems improbable, how do we make these decisions? Nonetheless, people continue with this enterprise throughout this period. Chambers writes his Universal Dictionary based on the system of Bacon. It's enormously influential, as I say, being the inspiration both for the Encyclopedia and Johnson's dictionary. Till finally we come to the Encyclopedia itself, which MacArthur described in the reading. It appears over a period of 20 years. Its primary authors are Diderot and D'Alembert. And the idea here is that now, in the light of the Age of Reason, we're going to come up with a system of organizing all of knowledge and produce it in a book so that knowledge can be shared with everyone. It is a subversive work, as MacArthur said, regarded as a subversive work, and there are periodic efforts to suppress it, partly because Diderot and D'Alembert are of suspicious fidelity to the church, certainly, and D'Alembert may very well have been unbeliever. He was buried in an unmarked grave because they wouldn't bury him in a cemetery. But the picture that Diderot and D'Alembert propose is one in which the system of organization grows out of the human faculties. It's a view that really gets from Locke, that knowledge is based on basic sensations and perceptions and combine them in more complicated ways into more elaborate concepts. D'Alembert writes in the preliminary discourse that you read, the tree of human knowledge could be formed in several ways, either by relating different knowledge to the diverse faculties of mind or to the things it has in its object. We can either grow it out of our sensations or to the things in the world. But how could there not be arbitrariness? Nature presents us only with particular things, infinite in number, and without firmly established divisions, everything shades off into everything else by imperceptible nuances. This would have been an extraordinarily subversive thing to say in the Middle Ages. The idea that you could organize the world in any number of ways. If the order of the world is given divinely, if the world is, as people in the Middle Ages would say, a text written by God, then how could there be arbitrariness? How could things shade off? Everything belonged to it. If you had an Adamic view, like in the book of Genesis, everything was as God put it there. I'm going to skip this. Nonetheless, there was this elaborate system constructed in the form of a tree, and I don't know why these didn't come out, but this is a picture of the entire tree of knowledge that was implicit in the Encyclopedia as produced by a German publisher a few years after its publication. And each of these leaves, this is the art of printing, the art of deciphering, the art of writing, the art of reading, and so on and so forth. Each had its little leaf that was connected by others to a place in the tree. I'm going to skip this as well. One interesting feature of the Encyclopedia, if you look at the plates that I put on the readings, there were lots and lots of plates and lots of articles that involved the practical arts, how to make silk, how to make wigs, all of the things that printing and carpentry, all of the things that working people and artisans did. It's an interesting conception of the encyclopedia, as comprehensive as Wikipedia is, for example. You're not going to find an article in Wikipedia about how to make a shoe. We don't consider that as a part of universal knowledge or the kind of knowledge that an encyclopedia should give us. But at the time, this was all part of the general knowledge that would lead ultimately to the happiness of the human race. And D'Alembert justified it by saying the advantage that the liberal arts have over the mechanical arts, because of their demands upon the intellect and because of the difficulty of excelling in them, is sufficiently counterbalanced by the quite superior usefulness which the latter, for the most part, have for us, while justly respecting great